Chapter 66 of Jin Ping Mei Chongzhen version of the embroidered portrait. Butler Zai sends a letter to Chongzhen, and Huang Zhenzhen sends an ultimatum recommending his death. The word says, "Thousands of sorrows in my chest hang on the sunset tree. The green leaves are shady and spring is welcome. And the grass is full of orioles. No Lingbo steps are seen. Fantasy is like a whisper. There are overlapping mountains outside the door, blocking the way out." It is said that while Simon King was drinking with Uncle Wu, Earl Ying and others, he asked Han Daoguo, "When will our guests get up after winning the bid for the ship? Let's pack up." Han Daoguo said, "Someone came to the meeting yesterday, and it was only on the 24th ship." Simon King said, "After 20 chants, it's time to pack up." The Count asked, "Now, who are you going to do?" Simon King said, "Let Brother Chue go first." When a shipload of goods arrived from Hangzhou, he and Lai Bao went to 5 places in Sanjiang to buy some fabrics to sell. They still had satin, silk, and cotton at home. It's all business. After saying that, it was time to wake up. Uncle Wu stood up and said, "Brother-in-law has been working hard for a long time. I've had enough wine. Please go back and have a rest." Simon King refused. He also kept them, and made the young ladies serve him wine and sing songs. Each of them ate for 3 minutes before being let out. Simon King rewarded the 4 of Xiaoyu with 6 coins, but he dared not accept it again and again, saying, "Master Song issued a ticket to ask Xiaoyu to come every time. How can I dare to receive a heavy reward from my father as an official?" Simon King said, "Although the official position is bad, this is I'll reward you. What's wrong with you?" The 4 of them kowtowed and led the way. Simon King went back to rest. The next day I got up early and went to the Yamen. Dao Guanwu had already sent an apprentice and to layman to lay the model out in the hull, which was neatly laid out. When Simon King came home and saw him, he sent his disciples to prepare fast food and eat it back. Immediately, when Shu Kai was ordered to write a post and invite Kiao Dahu, Uncle Wu, second Uncle Wu, Uncle Hua, Uncle Shen, second Uncle Meng, Earl Ying, Zi Zaida, Chang Jiji, Wu Shenzhen and many relatives to join us as guests tomorrow. Chanting sutras, the kitchen servants at home are done. And there is no question of organizing fasting and offering sacrifices. At 5 o'clock the next day, all the Taoists came, entered the sutra altar, lit candles and burned incense, played music, chanted various sutras, ranged the front door, hung long flags, and hung the inscriptions. The immortal consciousness of compassion from the East Pole takes advantage of the morning and ascends to the Purple Mansion. The pure soul of Nandan, who forgives sins, is refined and goes to Zhuling. In the sutra altar in the hall, there are 2 cross inscriptions hanging on the altar. And the big book reads, "Qing Xuan saves the suffering, issues talismans to inform slips, turns the sutras in 5 or 7, and recommends the altar through water and fire." On that day, Huang Zhenren wore bright red, sat in a sedan chair, and tied gold belts, surrounding him from left to right. Rituals from Zhuan and drinking. Only when the sun is high will he arrive. Wu Daoguan led the crowd to the altar, and after the ceremony was completed, Simon King, wearing plain clothes and a scarf, paid his respects and handed over tea. Next to the cave table, a sutra banquet table was set up, with a large red-pinned gold table surround, decorated chairs and mattresses, and 2 boys waiting on the left and right. When delivering documents, Simon King prepared a piece of gold satin. When he ascended the altar, he changed into a 9-yang thunder scarf, a red golden cloud and a white crane cloak. First, he expresses his intention to complete the fast, and the Zai officer washes his hands with incense. Then Huang Zhenren burned incense to clean the altar, flew a talisman to summon the generals, and sent out a written talisman to answer the orders. He started to play for 3 days, and announced the alliance to the 10 places. After the 3 gifts are given, the music is moved and the wealth and fragrance are transformed. Simon King and Chen Jingji followed, holding stoves in hand, lining up the troops to march, carrying 4 golden umbrellas and 3 pairs of tassels in front and behind. After returning from the incense burner, and was invited to the prison and fasted. Then he played music and went to Li Pingera's soul to summon his soul. At noon, the high-ranking officials, wearing their crowns and robes, fought with each other on their steps, paid homage to Zhu Bao, and sent their divine generals to fly down to Luofeng. It turns out that Huang Zhenren is about 30 years old. He is very handsome. He puts on his makeup and worships his watch at noon. He looks like a living god. But see, the star crown is covered with jade leaves, and the crane's cloak is covered with golden clouds. The spirit is as clear as the bright moon of the Yangtze River, and the appearance as ancient as the pine trees of Taihua. Stepping on the red shoes, you enter the Dangshao, and your steps are full of auspiciousness. He has a long beard and white cheeks. He has cultivated to the point of no leakage. He has white teeth and bright eyes, and he wears a palm with the Order of 5 Thunders. During the third watch, the sound of the moon Luan is far away, and the crane carrying clouds thousands of miles away is high on its back. It was the Duxian Taishi who came to the mortal world, and Guanghui Zhenren descended below. After paying homage to the emperor, Wu Daoguan presented the heavenly treasures and the divine tiger jade pillar at the altar. After the walk, the noon incense was poured out, and the meal was set up in the rolling tent. In front of Zhenren Huang, the big table is sure to win. Wu Daoguan and others are slightly different. The rest of the people are all seated at the same table. Huang Zhenren and Wu Daoguan are all lined with satin ruler heads, for pairs of draped flowers, for pieces of silk, and each of the scattered people is clothed with one piece. The tabletops were all carried to the temple, and each of the scattered people had their disciples put them into the box. No need to go into details. After lunch, they all went to the garden to play and eat. At the same time, he put away the fire at home, put out the vegetarian food again, and invited Uncle Wu and other relatives and friends to come and eat. While he was eating, he suddenly reported, "Master Zai in Tokyo sent someone to send a message." Simon King immediately went out of the hall and invited people in. I saw that it was the official responsible for the mission in front of the house, wearing narrow trousers and green clothes, a 10,000-character headscarf, dry yellow boots, and a full bow and arrow. Saluting forward, Simon King returned the favor. The man took out a book from his side and handed it over. It was another letter worth 10 taels of silver. When I asked the man's surname, he said, "My surname is Wang Mingyu. I was sent by Master Meng Zai to deliver this book. I didn't know there was a funeral for my father. I didn't know until Father N's letter arrived." Simon King asked, "How are you doing? When did the father's letter arrive?" The man said, "I arrived in Beijing in October. Since I have been promoted to the Imperial Water Department for 1 year, I have been ordered to repair the river until the work is completed." Simon King said. After asking again, he was ordered to come to the security room to take care of the meal, and to come tomorrow to get the book back. The man asked, "Where does Mr. Han live?" "Here is the message from the house. When I see you, I have to rush to Dongbing Mansion to write a letter." Simon King immediately summoned Han Daoguo to see the man, and after having a fast meal with him, he went home. Simon King was interested in reading the book, so he took the book to the scroll shed and taught Wen Shukai how to read it. Said, "You prepare a letter to answer him according to this, and send 10 square crepe sweat towels, 10 square silk sweat towels, 10 pairs of gold picking teeth, and 10 black gold wine cups as a gift in return. He will come to pick it up tomorrow." Book. When Shukai took the book and looked at it, and the book said, Saijin, a family member living in Kyoto, bowed his head and sent the letter to Siquan, his in-laws at the west gate of Dajin Hall. After saying goodbye in the capital, we couldn't talk to each other calmly, and I felt very sorry. His intention to learn from his teachings has already been expressed in front of his master. Recently, when Infengtion's letter arrived, I found out that my old relatives were in despair. It's okay to mourn with courtesy. He has a formal appearance, shows little enthusiasm, and wants to be accepted. For a long time, I have admired you for your appointment and your virtues. I have the Song of 5 dignities among the people, and you have the reputation of 3 residences in the territory. This year's performance appraisal will definitely lead to Jin's promotion. Yesterday, I had all my luck. During the 2 work sessions, I already told the master that I would give my in-laws names. After the work is completed, there will be grace, and the in-laws will be happy to be punished. Mr. Shia's year-end collection will be transferred to the Imperial Hall for the rank of commander. I would like to make this prediction and keep it secret. Attached. This book can be read by oneself, but cannot be read by others. Be careful. Be careful. It is also said, Mr. Young died in prison on the 29th of the previous month, Winter Raccoon Gare. After Wen Shukai finished looking at it, he was just waiting for it. Earl Ying had already taken it over, looked at it once, and gave it to Wen Shukai to keep. Said, "Old sir, please do your best to write your reply with great care. There are many talented people in Zigong's house, so don't teach him jokes." Wen Shukai said, "If the mink is not enough, the dog's tail will continue. How can students be talented in the class? It's just a matter of getting a big axe." Simon King said, "Mr. Wen, he has his own idea. What do you know about this?" After a while, Simon King ordered Lai Xing'er to serve the food. Send it to all relatives and neighbors in the street. He also sent Dian back to the 6 families of Li Guiji, Wu Yin'er, Zhang Aiyuer, Han Chuanayer, Hong Sire, and Ji Xiang'er to pay homage to the guests. Each family answered with a big piece of cloth and 1 tael of silver. Later in the afternoon, I asked 3 young boys, Li Ming, Wu Hui and Zheng Feng, to wait on me. After a long time, the Taoists ascended the altar and beat each other, went up to worship, repented, watched the lanterns, and then removed the altar to send off the saints. It's getting late. When the wedding ceremony is held, there will be more weather. Uncle Hua outside the door was left behind by Simon King, so Kiao Dahu, Uncle Shen, and Uncle Meng said goodbye and went home. Only Uncle Wu, second uncle, Count Ying, Zi Zida, Wen Shiukai, Chang Zhiji and other assistants were here, watching the water and fire training in the evening. In the hall tent, a high seat was built, a colorful bridge was built, a pool, a fire marsh, and dendrobium food were placed. There are also several banquet curtains at Li Ping'er's memorial tablet, all of which are neatly presented. Next to it are a soul banner, a red banner, and a yellow banner, with the words recommended for controlling demons and being refined by Nangong. First there was music from the Taoists. People were seated on both sides, holding swords and bowls. For Taoist boy stood on both sides. Huang Zhenren wears a gold devil conquering crown and crimson silk clouds. He ascends a high seat and murmurs something. Zhuan Yuan says, "Tai, the merciful master, came down and opened the gates at night." The boys both stepped forward to guide them, and the dead souls were trained on the cloud steps. After proclaiming the verses, he fumigated and burned incense, and read, "I will use Chuanwang to explain the teachings and open up the path to the underworld. I will teach you to refine my form and rise. I will be grateful for the tranquility and refreshment, and I will be starved for it. I wish you good luck." Really incense. I sincerely ask Tai, the most merciful and merciful person in the East, to save the suffering deities and all the saints from the 10 directions, and come to the Dharma assembly with the help of this true incense. People are living in the mortal world and are busy with worldly affairs every day. They don't know that there is death. Desire and greed are rarely planted in good roots, and they often end up in the bad realm. They are unconscious, greedy and angry, and they will live forever. How can they believe that everything will be gone in one day? I am suffering. Now I am worshipping the soul of my deceased family member. If I don't abandon my fate, I will be trapped for a long time. If I don't commit suicide, I will inevitably suffer the consequences. Scatter nectar to nourish the people. Send auspicious light all over the dim road. Order the 3 officials to examine the rules, and order the 10 palaces and pavilions to release the prisoners and redress the grievances. After all, I went to the swamp of the fire pond and washed away all the yellow flowers. I will burn the spirit treasure to refine the true talisman and declare, Tai Wei returned to the yellow flag. Wu Yingming's spiritual banner, took the photo to summon the Changji mansion, and opened the door to receive the reborn soul. The Taoists first placed the soul flag in the pool, burned the spiritual talisman, and replaced it with the red flag. Then they burned the Yu ritual talisman in the fire marsh and replaced it with the yellow flag. Haigong recitation. Heaven creates water, earth creates fire, water and fire mix and refine. And then they become the true form. After practicing, ask the god to walk on the golden bridge, pay homage to the jade majesty, take refuge in the 3 treasures, pay homage to the jade, and perform the 5-5 support. After the ceremony, Gao Gong said, "Since you have accepted the 3 refuges, you should proclaim the 9 precepts." After the 9 precepts were completed, The Taoists held music and recited the talisman in 10 categories of lonely souls. After completing the training, Huang Zhenren got down from the high seat. Music from the Taoists was sent to the door, and the money was burned in the box and warehouse. When I came back, my fasting was complete. All the Taoists changed their uniforms and arranged the roll-up Taoist statues. In the morning of Ximon's Qing dynasty, all the candles were lit in the hall, and the banquet was arranged. The 3 young actors were playing and singing, and all the relatives and friends were in front of the hall. Ximon Qingshan held the cup with Shenren Huang, holding a piece of Tianqing unique gold satin, a piece of colored satin, and 12 taels of silver on the left and right. Hiko Todan said, "Today, the dead room was rescued by my teacher's sutra skills, and he was able to be reborn. The feeling is not shallow, and the small courtesy shows the heart." Huang Zhenzhen said, "The small way is wrong and the metaphysics is indiscriminate. How can you reach the world? It all depends on your sincerity and sincerity. Your wife has already arrived in Jing dynasty. Yuan, if you accept this gift, it will be a shame." Ximon King said, "This gift is very thin, and it is disrespectful to the real person." Huang Zhenren ordered the boy to accept it. Ximon King handed the wine to the real person, and held the cup with Wu Daoguan. They found a piece of gold satin, 5 taels of silver, and 12 taels of scriptures. Wu Taoist official only accepted the scriptures, but refused to accept the others, saying, "The little Taoist has always been deeply loved," and he devoted himself to reciting the scriptures, and pursued his wife to be reborn in the fairy world to fulfill his heart. It is not possible to accept the scriptures. How can I dare to be so prosperous? What a gift! Ximon King said, "Master is here to take charge of the ceremony. I have to pay for all the simple rituals. Why shouldn't I do this?" Wu Daoguan had no choice but to accept the ceremony and thanked him again and again. Ximon King and the Taoists had finished serving wine, and then Uncle Wu, Earl Ying and others came up to share the wine with Ximon King. Uncle Wu held the cup, the Earl held the pot, Zishi held the dish, and they all knelt down. The Earl said, "My sister-in-law did this good thing today. Fortunately, she invited the real person here, and it was Master Wu who took the trouble. My sister-in-law benefited from it, although it depends on the real person's recommendation. It is actually my brother's piety and my sister-in-law's good fortune." Then he poured a full glass of wine. "Give Ximon King a cup." Ximon King said, "Thank you for your hard work these days. I can't thank you enough." After saying that, he drank it all. The Earl poured another cup and said, "Brother, have a double cup, not a single cup. See." She hurriedly handed over a chopstick to eat. Ximon King returned the favor and sat down at the table. Xiaoyu started to play and sing, and the cook went to the kitchen. That night, we sat in front of the banquet, playing guessing games, giving orders, tasting bamboo and playing silk, until the second watch. Ximon King was already half drunk, and everyone left after saying their goodbyes. Ximon King came in, rewarded Xiaoyu with 3 pieces of silver, and then went back. Exactly, if there is wine in life, you must be drunk. Never does a drop of it reach Juquan.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.